Punita, am I audible to you?
Yes, Dee, you are
So
audible.
I think Sir has joined, so we may start now. So you can start.
Okay, fine. Okay, fine. Okay, fine. Thank you, Dee. Good morning, all. On the behalf of Department of Political Science, Vasanta College for Women, Rajghat, I, Dr. Punita Pathak, welcome you all for this special lecture. The topic of today's lecture is Afghanistan in regional settings, issues and challenges. The rising insurgency, conflicts, and infiltration from regional neighbors, following peace negotiations with US, and the most protracted humanitarian situation of military casualties, collateral damages, and displacement is being the scenario of yesteryear's Afghanistan. Today's lecture is aimed towards these multiple issues and challenges Afghanistan is suffering from. So now in this regard, I request our senior Didi, Dr. Preeti Singh, to welcome and introduce our esteemed guest speaker, Didi.
Thank you, Punita. Uh, a very good morning to all. I welcome all the faculty members, colleagues from Vasanta College, and from other colleges, and I also welcome students who have joined us on the Google Meet platform for this special lecture on Afghanistan in regional settings, issues and challenges. I take this opportunity to express my sincere gratitude to today's speaker, Professor Sanjay K. Bharadwaj sir, for accepting our request. We all know about his academic engagements, research engagements, but despite that, he spared his time for us, for our students. It definitely speaks of his commitment to the student community. So we are very, very hopeful that the students would be highly benefited by your lecture. It would definitely enable them to get a comprehensive understanding of the issue of Afghanistan and would also give them a critical perspective to look at the recent events and also its future implications. Before inviting Sir for his lecture, I'd like to give a brief introduction about Professor Bharadwaj, especially for students, because those who are working in the field of South Asian studies, for them, sir needs no introduction. Professor Sanjay K. Bharadwaj sir is presently working as a professor at the Center for South Asian Studies. He has also been the former chairperson at the center and former director Energy Studies Program at the School of International Studies, Jawaharlal Nehru University, New Delhi. His area of specialization includes India's foreign policy, politico-security, socio-economic, and foreign policy issues of South Asian countries. Sir has been a recipient of many prestigious awards. To name a few, he received SRT Fellow Award in 2009-10 from London School of Economics and Political Science, London. This award he received on his work Contesting Identities in Bangladesh, Secular and Islamic Frontiers. He also received Asia Fellow Award 2010-11 from University of Dhaka, Bangladesh on his work Bangladesh Perspective on India, a study of water sharing issues since 1996. He has also been Chinese Academy of Social Science ICSSR Fellow 2013, Beijing, China, on China South Asia policy. He has also been SUSI Fellow 2018 on National Security Policy Making at the University of Delaware, USA. Sir has completed 3 research projects on following subjects: India's energy security, inter-regional cooperation to energy security society, India's neighborhood policy, small and big neighbors in South Asia, identity politics in Bangladesh, implications for India. Sir has immensely contributed to the field of South Asian studies through his academic writings. He has authored 3 books and has published more than 3 dozen articles and research papers. His forthcoming book, which is an edited book entitled The Chinese Shadow on India's Eastward Engagement, the Energy Security Dimension. Professor Bharadwaj has successfully supervised more than 25 PhD scholars on South Asia. With this brief introduction, I once again welcome you, sir, on this online platform, and I once again want to express my thanks to you, and we are really fortunate to have you, sir, with us. And before inviting sir, I'd like to inform the student because I want this lecture to be more interactive. तो ये जो लेक्चर होगा वो 45 मिनट या 50 मिनट तक सर का लेक्चर होगा, और उसके बाद हम विद्यार्थियों के प्रश्न लेंगे. आप अपने प्रश्न चैट बॉक्स में डाल सकते हैं, और उसके बाद सर के लेक्चर के बाद हम आपके प्रश्नों को लेंगे. So once again I welcome you, sir, and now I'll request you to start your lecture. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Preeti. Let me first extend my thanks to the Department of Political Science, Vasanta College for Women, for giving this opportunity and inviting me to deliver this lecture. Particularly, I thanks to Dr. Preeti that who had taken initiative and contacted me for this lecture. I also thanks to the other colleagues from Vasanta College as well as from other colleges and the university who are part of this this lecture. I'm also thankful to the students of Vasanta College that becoming part of this lecture. My lecture today, since Afghanistan is very relevant, very current issue that is dominating the international discourse today, and since India is the neighbor of Afghanistan, my lecture would be focusing on three parts. First part, I would discuss about Afghanistan, that how is Afghanistan is going on in this situation. While the world is also struggling with pandemic, the same time Afghanistan is having internal crisis, internal political crisis and political instability, though it is going on for last more than 3 or 4 decades, I can say, from the Soviet invasion in Afghanistan from 1979. After that, there are continuous instability in Afghanistan. But in 2021, we can see that there is change of guard. There is change of regime in Afghanistan. The second part, I would talk about the ideological orientations of Talibanis and the different stakeholders within Afghanistan who are there. The third, I would talk about that how Afghanistan plays in the regional settings and how the external powers are involved in the Afghan crisis. And then fourth, I would come out with the India's policy objective, that how India is looking at this issue and how India is trying to deal it. Since most of the audience are students of Vasanta College for Women, I would be bilingual, or I would more be in. I'll try to speak in Hindi as well, so that it can be well understood by the students of this prestigious college of Banaras Hindu University. You know, you be very clear that there is a debate from the very beginning that where does Afghanistan falls in an international map. कि इसकी जो जोग्राफिकल लोकेशन है अफगानिस्तान की वो कहाँ है, वो क्या साउथ एशिया में आता है या साउथ एशिया के बाहर आता है. ये डिबेटेड है कि कहीं पर इसको ग्रेट गेम 1 और ग्रेट गेम 2 का पार्ट है, कहीं इसको आप ब्रॉडर कोल्ड वार पॉलिटिक्स के पर्सपेक्टिव में भी देखने का कोशिश किया गया है, जहाँ पे and it has also linked with Central Asia, that it is also part of Central Asia. Of course, these designations or these designing of geographical location of particular country and the region is an Western construct or is American construct. Particularly, the United States Department of State had come out with a policy program, or to understand the world, they had designed and defined the areas that this is South Asia, this is Central Asia, this is East Asia, and this is West Asia. Particularly after 1954. However, South Asia has been popularized more after 1971 war. Interestingly, Afghanistan was not much into the considerations or in the calculations that it falls in South Asia. You can also see why SAARC was founded in 1970, initiated in 1979 and founded in 1985. Afghanistan was not part of SAARC because geostrategically or in the global calculations, Afghanistan were not calculated and fall in category of South Asia. However, the Afghanistan was always linked with South Asia, particularly after the Soviet invasion in Afghanistan in 1979, where Pakistan had become frontline state. When Americans, due to the Cold War politics, they wanted to contain USSR, they wanted to contain communists, and to contain communists, they have used Pakistan as frontline states. They have trained the religious jihadist mujahideens in Afghanistan, trained in Pakistan, fought in Afghanistan against the Soviet invasion after 1979. उनका जो बेस था, जो मुजाहिदीन का बेस था, वो रिलीजियस कंस्ट्रक्ट था, उसको सपोर्ट किया गया पाकिस्तान ने डायरेक्टली और इनडायरेक्टली. They were being trained, but they have also been trained and ideologically equipped from the Gulf countries. Saudi Arabia and UAE and all these countries had also equipped them logistically as well as ideologically, and that they have basically that the jihad, or you can say that the war against Soviets in 1979 onward were linked with the religion and Islam, and that religion has become a social constituency or premise of the jihadis or mujahideen in after 1979. You can see the geographical location of Afghanistan. That one side you see that Iran that is dominated by Shia or Emirates. That Emirates that they have been ruling after 1979. You can see. Then other side they are erstwhile USSR, or you can say that the Central Asian republics, Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, Kyrgyzstan, all these countries, they were part of USSR. Then you can see that Russia is still having influence on these countries, and Russia connects these countries with its security policy as well, and do not want that these republics should be radicalized over the years by different ideological construct. The other side you can see China. China is emerging power in Asia and trying to bipolarize the world, and China you can see is also suffering one of the problem of from Xinjiang province, that Uyghur Muslim community, that they are challenging the Chinese policies, and they are doing their activities that doesn't suit to China. And then you can see that India it doesn't have direct border, but it has very closely associated with Afghanistan. But India is a regional power in South Asia, is a big country, had been somehow influenced by the Cold War politics after 1979 onward. But today also it has direct or indirect impacts on or implications whatever happening in South Asia or in Afghanistan. You can also see that Pakistan, that is the only channel, or that is the only way where United States can do its activities, because none of these states, either the communist China was not in the sides of Americans. However, after 1971 rapprochement policy, that Americans, they tried to convince or collaborate with China against USSR. But after 1990, देख सकते हैं कि जिस तरीके से अमेरिका और चाइना आमने सामने खड़े हुए हैं ट्रेड के इश्यूज पे, सिक्योरिटी के इश्यूज पे, और साउथ चाइना सी के इश्यूज पे, इंडो पैसिफिक के इश्यूज पे, और आप ये कहिए कि साउथ एशिया के इश्यूज पे भी चाइना और अमेरिका आमने सामने खड़े हुए हैं। अमेरिका का ईरान के साथ में प्रॉब्लम है, अमेरिका का रशिया के साथ प्रॉब्लम्स हैं, और जो रशियन इन्फ्लुएंस के जो सेंट्रल एशियन रिपब्लिक्स हैं वो रशिया के साथ जुड़े हुए हैं, इसलिए अमेरिका इज ऑल्सो नॉट कंफर्टेबल विद दैट। तो अमेरिका के पास अगर आप मोटे तौर पे देखते हैं तो 1979 से लेके आज तक, चाहे पहला सोवियत इन्वेजन के खिलाफ लड़ाई हो या आप ये कहिए कि जो आफ्टर 9/11 देयर वर वॉर ऑन टेरर, जो आतंकवाद के खिलाफ जो लड़ाई थी, उसमें देखते हैं कि अमेरिका अगर के लिए कोई एक सबसे लॉजिस्टिक सप्लाई के लिए, मिलिट्री सप्लाई के लिए, ट्रेनिंग के लिए या बाकी किसी भी तरीके के सपोर्ट्स के लिए तालिबान और अल-कायदा से लड़ने के लिए पाकिस्तान वाज ओनली द चैनल। एंड सिंस इंडिया डज नॉट हैव डायरेक्ट एक्सेस टू Afghanistan, India doesn't have good relations with Pakistan as well. India had been linked its policies with United States in case of war on terror, in case of Afghanistan. तो आप मोटे तौर पे देखते हैं कि जो जियो स्ट्रेटेजिक लोकेशन है, जो जियो इकोनॉमिक लोकेशन है अफगानिस्तान का, वो साउथ एशिया के लिए जियो स्ट्रेटेजिक इम्प्लीकेशंस भी रखे हुए हैं, साथ ही साथ देयर आर जियो इकोनॉमिक इम्प्लीकेशंस जिसको मैं डिटेल में डिस्कस करने जा रहा हूं। लेकिन मोटे तौर पे आप देखते हैं कि जब से कोल्ड वॉर खत्म हुआ है और अफगान फोर्सेस अफगानिस्तान से यूएसएसआर का विड्रॉल हुआ है, उसके बाद तालिबान ने वहां टेक ओवर किया। टेक ओवर करने के बाद आप देखते हैं कि जो तालिबान का जो बहुत कुछ हद तक, क्योंकि उनका रिलीजियस और जिहादिस्ट टेंडेंसी था, रेडिकलाइजेशंस और एक तरीके से एमिरेट्स स्थापित करना चाहते थे, एंड दैट वाज वेरी एक्सट्रीमिस्ट और वेरी रेडिकल इन ए वे that was not good for the human right things, that was not good for progressive liberal democratic people in Afghanistan as well as the women, and that is a big concern even today, that was not good for that while Taliban was taking over. लेकिन मोटे तौर पे आप ये देखें कि उस वक्त बहुत कुछ हद तक तालिबान को बहुत रिकॉग्निशन मिला नहीं था, और 1996 में एक तरीके से उनको अफगानिस्तान मिला था जो वॉर टोर्न था, उनका आइडियोलॉजिकली अक्यूप्ट था, और उन तालिबान को दे ट्राई टू रन अफगानिस्तान ऑन by iron rods, or you can say by iron by a very tough regime. इन वस्तुस्थिति को देखते हुए आप ये भी देखिए कि उस वक्त अफगानिस्तान के सामने सबसे बड़ा जो चैलेंज था कि उनके लिए गुड्स एंड सर्विस सप्लाई कहीं से नहीं मिल रही थी। गुड्स एंड सर्विस सप्लाई जो उनके सस्टेन करने के लिए आवश्यक थी, अपने आप को बनाने के लिए आवश्यक थी, वो नहीं मिल रही थी, और उसको फुलफिल करने के लिए उन्होंने या तो ड्रग ट्रैफिकिंग या आप ये कहिए स्मगलिंग्स का सहारा लिया, और उसके आधार पे अपनी इकोनॉमी को सस्टेन करने की कोशिश की। कहने का तात्पर्य ये है कि 1996 में जब तालिबान ने टेक ओवर किया, वस्तुस्थिति बड़ी डिफरेंट थी, और उनके आइडियोलॉजिकल ओरिएंटेशंस बहुत ही रिजिड और बहुत ही ऑर्थोडॉक्स और कंजर्वेटिव थे, दैट हैड ए रेडिकल टेंडेंसी, और इकोनॉमिकली भी बहुत कुछ हद तक अफगानिस्तान उनके लेकिन आज जो स्थिति है, आज आप देखिए कि क्योंकि 2001 के बाद में जब से 9/11 हुआ, और 9/11 के बाद अमेरिकन वॉर ऑन टेरर रहा, उसमें इंटरनेशनल कम्युनिटी ने जिस तरीके का अफगानिस्तान को सपोर्ट दिया, जो अफगानिस्तान स्टेट को, अफगानिस्तान गवर्नमेंट को जो सपोर्ट दिया अमेरिका ने और बाकी यूरोपियन कंट्रीज इंक्लूडिंग इंडिया ने जिस तरीके से सपोर्ट दिया उनका नेशन बिल्डिंग प्रोसेस में और इंस्टीट्यूशंस को इंस्टीट्यूशनलाइज करने में, और ये 20 साल का जो समय था जो अफगानिस्तान में एक मॉडर्नाइजेशन के रूप में देखा गया, एक प्रोग्रेसिव फोर्सेस के रूप में देखा गया। इस्लामिक रिपब्लिक अफगानिस्तान वाज ए इस्लामिक रिपब्लिक, बट एक प्रोग्रेसिव इस्लामिक रिपब्लिक था, एक जो शरिया के आधार पे चलता था, लेकिन वो बहुत ज़्यादा कॉन्फ्लिक्टिंग नहीं था, जो लिबरल डेमोक्रेटिक वैल्यूज हैं. वीमेन हैड आल्सो गुड पोजीशंस इन अफगानिस्तान ड्यूरिंग दिस पीरियड. आप 1996 से पहले देखेंगे तो जो अफगानिस्तान में वीमेन का पार्टिसिपेशन, आप लाइक टीचिंग पोजीशंस हो या आप ये कई एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव पोजीशंस हो या दूसरी सर्विसेज में, लगभग 50% के लगभग था. आफ्टर 9/11 उसके बाद जब अफगानिस्तान ने वीमेन को बिल्कुल ही घर से बाहर निकलना बंद कर दिया, दे वर नॉट अलाउड टू गो फॉर एजुकेशन एंड ऑल दैट, उसके बाद जब उनका रिप्रेजेंटेशन 1996 से 2000 के बीच में बहुत एकदम बिल्कुल मिनिमम हो गया था, बहुत ही कम हो गया था. लेकिन 2001 से 2000 आप देखते हैं कि 21 के बीच में जिस तरीके का एक प्रोग्रेसिव एक अपॉर्चुनिटी सब पूरे सेक्शंस को मिला, किसी तरीके का जेंडर डिस्क्रिमिनेशन नहीं हुआ, तो वीमेन रिप्रेजेंटेशन इन एजुकेशन सेक्टर एज वेल एज इन सर्विस सेक्टर इज कम अराउंड 30%, 35% in different sectors. You can see there are different reports that different institutions has come out by different reports that how women had been given an opportunity in last 2 years. मेरा कहने का साफ मतलब ये है कि जो आज अफगानिस्तान जो तालिबान को मिला है, वो एक फंक्शनल स्टेट के रूप में मिला है. एक फंक्शनल स्टेट मिला है और एक फंक्शनल इकोनॉमी है. जिस तरीके का जो इंटरनेशनल लिंकेजेस और जो स्टेट के इंस्टीट्यूशंस काम कर रहे थे, वो स्थिति 1996 की स्थिति से बेहतर है. और मैं कहूँगा कि रीजनेबली गुड इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर उनको मिला है. आप देखिए कि इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर के हिसाब से भारत ने भी लगभग $3 बिलियन अफगानिस्तान में इन्वेस्टमेंट किया है. और साथ ही साथ आप ये देखिए कि जो अफगानिस्तान में एक एस्पिरेशनल क्लास मिला है, जो आगे बढ़ना चाहता है, जो अफगानिस्तान को इंस्टीट्यूशनलाइज करना चाहता है, और उसके साथ ही साथ वो जो मॉडर्नाइजेशन की और ग्लोबलाइजेशन की जो वेव है, उसमें भी जुड़ना चाहता है. इस तरीके की एक बैकग्राउंड आज अफगानिस्तान में तालिबान को मिला है, तालिबान टेक ओवर के बाद, काबुल को टेक ओवर के बाद. लेकिन अभी भी एक क्राइसिस है, अभी भी एक डर है, प्रॉब्लम है, दैट इज कि दे स्टिल नीड क्वालिफाइड पीपल टू रन द इंस्टीट्यूशन, बिकॉज तालिबानीज बहुत कुछ हद तक पढ़े लिखे नहीं हैं, इस सेंस में कि उनको मिला है एजुकेशन, वो भी मदरसा एजुकेशन टाइप का से मिला है, और उनको बहुत ज़्यादा इंटरनेशनल एक्सपोजर नहीं है कि कैसे, बिकॉज किसी भी कंट्री को के सर्वाइवल के लिए, आज के दिन किसी भी कंट्री के सर्वाइवल के लिए इस ग्लोबलाइजेशन और प्राइवेटाइजेशन के एज में सबसे बड़ा जो ज़रूरत है कि कैसे आप इंटरनेशनल फंड को मोबिलाइज करते हैं, कैसे इन्वेस्टमेंट को मोबिलाइज करते हैं, और कैसे आप ट्रेड एंड कॉमर्स को आप एक्सपेंड करते हैं अदर कंट्रीज के साथ. उसके लिए आपको क्वालिफाइड पीपल चाहिए, क्वालिफाइड पर्सन चाहिए, वो एक प्रॉब्लम है. तो अफगानिस्तान में आज तालिबान के लिए एक मजबूरी के रूप में भी देख सकते हैं कि उनको अगर सरवाइव करना है, अपने आप को बनाए रखना है, तो उनको एक मॉडरेट वे, एक इंक्लूसिव वे अपनाना पड़ेगा. और दूसरा जो सबसे बड़ा, क्योंकि अगर आप इस तरीके का इंक्लूसिव वे नहीं अपनाते हैं और रेडिकल और कंजर्वेटिव रास्ते पे चलते हैं जैसे कि 1996 में चले थे, तो पहला जो सवाल उठता है कि आपको इंटरनेशनल रिकॉग्निशन नहीं मिलेगा. अगर इंटरनेशनल रिकॉग्निशन नहीं मिलेगा तो आपका इंटरनेशनल कम्युनिटी के साथ में you cannot connect, you cannot link with the international community, and that would not flow your economy, that would not flow your other resources as well. So इस बात को देखते हुए आप ये भी देख सकते हैं कि तालिबान ने जो पोस्ट तालिबान टेक ओवर के बाद में, तालिबान is in a media conference attempted to assuage the fear in the Afghan and a way very international community for positive behavior. However, you can say means they try to have a soft or soften state. They are trying to project कि जो अफगानिस्तान होगा वो सॉफ्ट स्टेट होगा, और उन्होंने ये भी कोशिश किया कि they have also announced amnesty to the opposition forces, कि जो अपोजिशन फोर्सेस हैं अफगानिस्तान में, उनको भी एमनेस्टी देने की घोषणा की है. और आप ये भी देखिए कि उन्होंने ये भी कहा है कि किसी भी तरीके का वी विल ट्राई टू प्रोटेक्ट वीमेन राइट्स एंड वी विल आल्सो ट्राई टू protect human rights under Islamic ethos and under Islamic values. This एक तरीके का ये प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंसेस में और एक इंडिकेशन देने की कोशिश की है. However, within these days, अभी आप देखते हैं कि पिछले 8-10 दिन में the evident that these promises have been violated number of times. Number of people had been killed, and their freedom has been curtailed. The women had been asked not to go to the offices. They have been denied to go to the offices in that. तो एक तरीके का जो ये होप तालिबानी दिखाने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं अफगानिस्तान में, वो उनका वास्तविक रूप से जो प्रैक्टिकली अगर देखते हैं तो वो फुलफिल होती हुई नजर नहीं आ रही. और इंटरनेशनल कम्युनिटी को भी इस बात पे कोई ज्यादा उन पे भरोसा नहीं है कि तालिबानी अपनी जो पुरानी जो रेडिकल और जो सरिया रूल्स की बात करते हैं, जो रेडिकलाइज और ऑर्थोडॉक्स और कंजर्वेटिव जो टेंडेंसीज हैं, उनको छोड़कर एक प्रोग्रेसिव फोर्स के रूप में टिक पाएंगे. क्योंकि जो तालिबान को जो सबसे बड़ा जो सपोर्ट है, जो रिलीजियस ऑर्थोडॉक्स फोर्सेस हैं एशिया में और दक्षिणी एशिया में, पर्टिकुलरली आप ये कहिए पाकिस्तान से भी जो रिलीजियस ऑर्थोडॉक्स फोर्सेस हैं, ISI या आप ये कहिए सेना ने जिस तरीके से सपोर्ट किया है, वो उनके रेडिकल और कंजर्वेटिव स्टैंड को ध्यान में रखते हो. तो इफ दे विल गिव अप दिस रेडिकल और कंजर्वेटिव स्टैंड, दे विल नॉट सर्वाइव मच. व्हाट इज द डिफरेंस देन अफगान led government and the Taliban? Because the Talibanis, they wanted to project and show themselves different what Ghani and Karzai was trying to project. तो आप मोटे तौर पे देखते हैं कि जिस तरीके का सिचुएशंस है, जो आज हालात है अफगानिस्तान में, मुझे उम्मीद की नजर कम आती है. मैं आपको मोटे तौर पे अगर मैं आपको बताना चाहूँ कि जो ये इस्लामाइजेशन प्रोसेस हुआ है और इसका कारण क्या है कि वो अपनी जो बेसिक कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंसी है, जो सोशल कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंसी है, जो रिलीजियस कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंसी है, उसको गिव अप नहीं करने के देयर आर फंडामेंटल currents, or there are fundamental reasons of factors or rise of Islamic extremism in Afghanistan in particular and in South Asian countries in general. There are 3 factors, 3 बातें मैं जो आपसे शेयर करूंगा जो इस्लामाइजेशन जो अफगानिस्तान में और बाकी क्षेत्रों में इस्लामाइजेशन होने के लिए कारगर हैं. पहला कि मैं कहूँगा मैक्रो लेवल पे आप देखते हैं कि जो रिलीजियस जो ऑर्थोडॉक्स फोर्सेस हैं, जो कंजर्वेटिव फोर्सेस हैं, चाहे वो अफगानिस्तान में हो, चाहे वो पाकिस्तान में हो या और दूसरे इस्लामिक कंट्रीज में, उन्होंने सोशियो पॉलिटिकल एलिट्स ने क्या किया है कि जो इस्लामिक ईथोज हैं, जो गवर्नमेंट ऑफिसेज, दे ट्राई टू सिंबलाइज इस्लामिज्म इन द पॉलिसी, इन द पॉलिटी, इन द सोसाइटी, इन द कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन. आज भी आप देखिए कि ज़्यादातर साउथ एशियन कंट्रीज, आप चाहे अफगानिस्तान ले लीजिए, चाहे पाकिस्तान ले लीजिए, चाहे आप बांग्लादेश ले लीजिए, कि वो जो रिलीजियस मेजोरिटेरियन कंस्ट्रक्ट्स है, जो इस्लाम है, उसको गिव अप नहीं करना चाहता. आज पाकिस्तान में भी इस्लाम स्टेट रिलीजन है, बांग्लादेश में भी इस्लाम स्टेट रिलीजन है, और उसी एंगल से आप देखते हैं कि अफगानिस्तान में भी इस तरीके का कोई प्रयास नहीं किया गया कि इस्लाम को सेंट्रल पोजीशन में रखा जाए. क्योंकि जो रूलिंग ऑब्जेक्टिव्स हैं, जो वहाँ रूल करना चाहते हैं, दे ट्राई टू इस्लामाइज द सोसाइटी एंड पॉलिटी बाय डिफरेंट सिंबोलिज्म and by different policies, and that has ruined the secular nature of this South Asian society, or this society what it had been over the years. आप देखते हैं कि जो linkages थे, इंडिया के linkages थे महाभारत पीरियड से लेके अब मौर्य डायनेस्टी से लेकर लेटर ऑन जिस तरीके का हार्मोनी था, that has been ruined by religious invasions or religious constructs by different people. The second आप देखते हैं कि जिस तरीके का एक लिंकेजेस रहा है, जो डिफरेंट इंस्टीट्यूशन इस्लामिक ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस का एक लिंकेजेस रहा है, उन चैरिटीज और यू कैन से Arabians, they try to finance Saudi Arabia and UAE, they try to finance the South Asian countries and Afghanistan, Pakistan, all that countries. They have promoted madrasa educations in these countries, and that has been dominated the discourse. It has been dominated the discourse in this subcontinent. मैं मोटे तौर पे आपको कहूँगा कि जो एक जो हनाफिज्म था, जो हनाफी एक स्ट्रैंड था जो यहाँ से जो जिसका पर्शियन इम्पैक्ट था, या आप ये कहिए जो टर्को पर्शियन इम्पैक्ट था, और जो यहाँ के जो इथोज लेके लोकल इथोज है अफगानिस्तान और साउथ एशिया का जो लोकल इथोज लेके एक हनाफी कल्चर, इस्लामिक जो स्ट्रीम और स्कूल जो डेवलप हुआ, वो काफ़ी कुछ सिंक्रेटिक था, वो काफ़ी कुछ एक्मोडेटिव था, वो बहुत ज़्यादा ऑर्थोडॉक्स और फंडामेंटलिस्ट नहीं था. That has been challenged by the linking, that has been challenged by over the years increasing linkages with Arabian world. और आप कहिए कि सऊदी अरबिया और यूएई इन कंट्रीज के साथ में जो लिंकेजेस बढ़ा, उससे क्या हुआ कि जो Hanabali is a strand that believes in Wahhabism, that believes in orthodox radical Islamism, and that believes in the text of the religious text, that they do not go with the opinion and the opinions, and they have been interpreted in different way. तो मेरा कहने का मतलब ये है कि ओवर द ईयर्स, जब से तालिबान आए या उसके बाद से आप ये देखिए कि, और जब सोवियत इन्वेजन हुआ, जो सऊदी अरबिया और साउथ एशियन सोसाइटी के बीच में जो लिंकेजेस हुए, जो सऊदी अरबिया या आप यूएई के साथ जो लिंकेजेस हुए, उन्होंने जो हनाफी इस्लामिक स्कूल है उसको चैलेंज करना शुरू किया, और दे हैव इंट्रोड्यूस Hanabali, that they tried to authenticate Islam with मक्का मदीना की जो असली इस्लाम है, वो मक्का मदीना वाला इस्लाम है, और जो आप यहाँ पे इस्लाम प्रीच कर रहे हैं वो इस्लाम प्योर इस्लाम नहीं है, वो सिंक्रेटिक इस्लाम है, उसमें गाना बजाना भी ठीक नहीं है, उसमें किसी भी तरीके का. और जो आप ये देखिए कि जो जिस तरीके का बुर्का कल्चर जो डेवलप हो रहा है, वो उसका सबसे बड़ा इन्फ्लुएंस रहा है मक्का मदीना से, या आप ये कहिए कि हनाबली से, जो अरबिक इस्लाम है. तो जो कॉन्फ्लिक्ट पैदा हो गया टर्को पर्शियन और अरबिक इस्लाम में, वो काफ़ी कुछ विजिबल है आज के टाइम में, कि किस तरीके से जो कॉन्फ्लिक्ट है विद इन इस्लाम, वहाँ पे अफगानिस्तान में भी मुस्लिम के साथ लड़ रहा है. आप ये देखिए कि जो लाल कलंदर दरगाह पे अगर टेररिस्ट अटैक होता है तो क्या कॉन्फ्लिक्ट है, कंटेस्टेशन इज विद इन द Islam, within the Muslim, and that contestation is between Hanabali and Hanafi. That Hanafi, they are not accepting that Hanafi Islam what it has been preached in South. आप बेल्ट देखेंगे कि अफगानिस्तान से, ईरान से, अफगानिस्तान से, या साउथ एशिया, इंडिया, बांग्लादेश, और आप आगे जाएंगे इंडोनेशिया, मलेशिया और चाइना, इसमें हनाफी का डोमिनेंस हुआ है, जो कि अरबिक इस्लाम से डिफरेंट था, ज़्यादा ऑर्थोडॉक्स नहीं था, ज़्यादा टेक्स्ट में विश्वास नहीं करता था. दे हैड मोर बिलीव्ड इन ओपिनियंस एंड ऑल दैट. लेकिन जब से अरबियन वर्ल्ड के साथ में इंटरेक्शन बढ़ा, चाहे भारत के लोगों का या अफगानिस्तान के लोगों का, पाकिस्तान के लोगों का, तो आइडियोलॉजिकली वो दे हैव स्टार्टेड ऑथेंटिकेटिंग. मैं आऊँगा इसमें कि पहले बहुत ज़्यादा फर्क पड़ता नहीं था, क्योंकि जो रूलिंग ऑब्जेक्टिव्स थे, रूलिंग क्लास थी, वो इसको सिंबलाइज करने की कोशिश करती थी. लेकिन आज के दिन ये एक डिफरेंट पोस्चर, डिफरेंट रूप आ गया. मैं आपको 2 उदाहरण के रूप में दूंगा. उदाहरण देने से पहले मैं दूसरा जो आपको एक मेजर लेवल पे जो इस्लामाइजेशन का जो मिस इंटरप्रिटेशन आप कहेंगे, आप ये कहिए कि एट मेजर लेवल देयर इज डिक्लाइन ऑफ स्कॉलरशिप इन इस्लाम. देयर इज अ डिक्लाइन दैट देयर इज नो वन टू tell the true version of Islam. Insignificant contribution of civil society and scholars in Islam has become a source of fundamentalism and radicalizations in the society. आप ये कहिए कि that we have failed to interpret the true version of Islam. we had failed to reveal the inclusive and tolerant nature of the South Asian or this society. आप ये देखिए कि बहुत सारे है, जैसे फतवा आप लीजिए, फतवा को आप किस एंगल से देखते हैं, इज इट ए ऑर्डर और इट इज ए ओपिनियन ऑफ ए वन पर्टिकुलर सेक्ट, दैट हैज बीन मिस इंटरप्रेटेड. तो जो आज के दिन जो कॉन्फ्लिक्ट्स चल रहा है अफगानिस्तान में या बाकी कंट्रीज में इस्लाम के बीच में, उसका एक बड़ा कारण है कि मौलवी और जो रूलिंग एलिट्स हैं, दे हैड इंटरप्रेटेड Islam for their vested interest. They had not taught ट्रू इस्लाम। अगर आप इस्लाम की बात करते हैं तो इस्लाम तो भाईचारे का धर्म माना जाता है, भाई, और इक्वलिटेरियन सोसाइटी की बात करता है, इक्वलिटी की बात करता है, लेकिन वो इस्लाम है कहाँ? कहाँ पे आप, कहाँ भाईचारा है? सब जगह आप कोई भी देश आप उठा के देख लीजिए, दैट हैज बीन दे आर इन कॉन्फ्लिक्ट्स एंड दे आर कॉन्फ्लिक्टिंग विद ईच अदर। दूसरे धर्म के साथ कॉन्फ्लिक्ट तो दूसरी बातें हैं, लेकिन विद इन इस्लाम देयर इज कॉन्फ्लिक्ट बिटवीन Sunnis and Shias. There is conflict between Sunni Muslims and Ahmadiyyas, and there are conflicts within different sects, progressive liberal forces and radical and orthodox forces in Afghanistan and in Pakistan. मैं आपको बताने की कोशिश कर रहा हूँ कि कैसे तालिबान अपनी आइडियोलॉजी को गिव अप नहीं करेगा, ऑर्थोडॉक्स और रेडिकल कंजर्वेटिव रास्ते पे ही जाएगा, और महिलाओं के लिए और आप ये कहिए प्रोग्रेसिव जो लिबरल इंस्टीट्यूशनल फोर्सेज हैं, जो डेमोक्रेटिक फोर्सेज हैं, जो विमेन है अफगानिस्तान में, उनके हित की बात नहीं करेगा। वो अपने आप को कुछ एस्टेब्लिश करने के लिए एक देयर इज लल बिफोर स्टॉर्म, आप ये कहिए देयर इज लल बिफोर स्टॉर्म, कि आज वो कह रहे हैं कि हम इंक्लूसिव होने की कोशिश करेंगे, आज वो कह रहे हैं कि हम एमनेस्टी की बात करते हैं, हम ह्यूमन राइट्स और ह्यूमन राइट्स के प्रोटेक्शन की बात करते हैं, बट दे आर नॉट गोइंग टू गिव अप देयर आइडियोलॉजिकल ऑर्थोडॉक्सी, बिकॉज उनका जो सर्वाइवल है, जो उनकी कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंसी है, जो सोशल कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंसी है, वो रिलीजन है, एंड दे विल गिव अप देम, देन दे विल नॉट गेट सपोर्ट्स फ्रॉम द ऑर्थोडॉक्स एंड कंजर्वेटिव फोर्सेस ऑल ओवर द वर्ल्ड। तीसरा जो सबसे बड़ा फैक्टर है कि कहाँ से सपोर्ट ज्यादा मिलने लग गया, वो मैं आपको कहूंगा कि माइक्रो लेवल पे पहले जनता को बहुत ज्यादा कोई फर्क पड़ता नहीं था, जनता को कोई ज्यादा दिक्कत नहीं थी, लेकिन जिस तरीके से ग्लोबलाइजेशन हुआ है और जिस तरीके से माइग्रेंट लेबर फोर्सेस एक दूसरे कंट्री में जाने लगे हैं, पर्टिकुलरली जो मुस्लिम कंट्रीज के ज्यादातर गल्फ कंट्रीज में जो सर्व करने लगा है, तो जो माइग्रेंट अनस्किल्ड और सेमी स्किल्ड वर्कर्स दे आर वर्किंग इन मिडिल ईस्ट अरबियन कंट्रीज, वो उस अरबिक इस्लाम के टच में आए हैं, एंड वो दे हैव स्टार्टेड ऑथेंटिकेटिंग द इस्लाम व्हिच इज प्रीच्ड इन अफगानिस्तान और प्रीच्ड इन साउथ एशिया, दैट कि जो ट्रू इस्लाम है वो तो वो इस्लाम है, हम जो मानते हैं वो इस्लाम सही नहीं है। सो दे आर ऑथेंटिकेटिंग द मिडिल ईस्टर्न वर्जन ऑफ इस्लाम एंड इम्पोजिंग एंड ब्रांडिंग द इस्लाम ऑन देयर फैमिली एंड सोशल मेंबर्स बैक होम, एंड दैट हैज बिकम सिग्निफिकेंट फैक्टर। मैं एक बात मोटा तौर पे जो उदाहरण के तौर पे देना चाहता हूँ, दो चीजें जो तालिबान से जुड़ी हुई है, वो दो बातें ये है कि तालिबानी कौन है, जो इस्लाम और ऑर्थोडॉक्सी के आधार पे और आयरन रोड्स के आधार पे अफगानिस्तान में रूल करना चाहते थे। आफ्टर 9/11 जिस तरीके से वहां से उनको खदेड़ दिया गया और एक प्रोग्रेसिव डेमोक्रेटिक स्टेट को एस्टेब्लिश करने की कोशिश की, तो वो लोग कहाँ गए? वो लोग गए सऊदी अरबिया चले गए, गल्फ कंट्री चले गए, वो पाकिस्तान की जेल में चले गए और बाकी साउथ एशियन कंट्रीज में चले गए। तो आप ये देखिए कि जो पिछले 20 साल में जो तालिबानीज हैं वो ज्यादातर तो पाकिस्तान की जेल में थे, और पाकिस्तान की जेल में किसकी निगरानी में थे? वो या तो पाकिस्तानी सेना की निगरानी में थे या फिर ISI की जो डीप स्टेट है पाकिस्तान का। तो आप ये देखिए कि जो 20 साल में जो लोग तालिबानी जो पाकिस्तान की जेल में रहे हैं, they had also got a different training by the ISI and the Pakistani state। वो उनको ट्रेंड किया गया, वो जेल में नहीं थे, उनको ट्रेंड किया गया और उनको जिहादी बनाने की कोशिश की गई कि जो जिहाद चल रही है, हम तो हक्कानी नेटवर्क को सपोर्ट कर ही रहे हैं, हम तो तालिबान को इनडायरेक्टली डायरेक्टली सपोर्ट कर ही रहे हैं, लेकिन आपको लड़ाई लड़नी है तो आप पाकिस्तान जेल में तो हैं, लेकिन दे हैव बीन ट्रेंड इन ए वे। अब वो आज जब वो तालिबान का शासन वापस स्थापित हो गया तो सभी लोगों को वहां से रिलीज करके उनको छोड़ दिया जा रहा है। आप देखिए कि ब्रदर वाज आल्सो 10 years इन पाकिस्तानी जेल, एंड उसको छुड़वाने के लिए अगर आप कहें तो किसी कंट्री ने कहा, वो अमेरिका ने कहा, क्योंकि अमेरिका वांटेड टू नेगोशिएट विद तालिबान। अमेरिका का पॉलिसीज में इसको डिस्कस करूंगा कि कैसे अमेरिका तालिबान के साथ में नेगोशिएट करना चाहता था, क्यों उन्होंने एक अपना एक विड्रॉवल मोड में आ गए कि हम अफगानिस्तान से विड्रॉ करना चाहते हैं। वो विड्रॉ करना चाहते थे लेकिन नेगोशिएट करके विड्रॉ करना चाहते थे। उसके लिए दे हैव स्टार्टेड कंप्रोमाइजिंग विद द तालिबानीज एंड that was not accepted to the Afghan state, that was not accepted to Hamid Karzai or Abdullah or you can say Ashraf Ghani, but उसके बावजूद भी चूंकि अमेरिका विड्रॉवल मोड में था, टेंडेंसी में था, they had also accepted finally and they had a Doha round between Afghan government and Taliban। मेरा कहने का मतलब ये है कि जो पाकिस्तान की जेल में जो ट्रेंड हुए वो आज अफगानिस्तान में शासन करेंगे, वो आज अफगानिस्तान तालिबान के रूप में शासन करेंगे। दूसरे जो इनका आइडियोलॉजिकल बैकअप रहा वो सऊदी अरबिया कॉन्स्टेंटली आइडियोलॉजिकल जो बैकअप रहा, लॉजिस्टिक जो बैकअप रहा वो सऊदी अरबिया और यूएई के माध्यम से रहा। These people are also coming, they are with the conservative Arabic Islamic people, they are coming to rule Afghanistan in the form of Taliban। कहने का मतलब ये है कि आज जो अफगानिस्तान को हम तालिबान को देखते हैं वो डिफरेंट लेवल पे, मैक्रो लेवल या मेजो लेवल या माइक्रो लेवल पे, they had different strands and thinking, they have developed and they have been trained and they have been overcome with the orthodoxy and conservative type of Islam, and we should not take them granted, we should not take them that we should not believe easily that tomorrow that Afghanistan under Taliban would be a progressive regime, would be a progressive government। अब मैं अमेरिका के साथ में आता हूं कि देखिए अमेरिका का निश्चित रूप से कंसर्न रहा, मैं अब डिफरेंट स्टेक होल्डर्स की बात करूंगा यहाँ पे कि अमेरिका का निश्चित रूप से कंसर्न रहा ये कौन है, तालिबान है कौन, तालिबान और मुजाहिदीन है कौन। दीज आर ऑल गुरिल्ला और जिहादीज ट्रेन्ड by Pakistan, supported by America from 1979 onward। कि जो मुजाहिदीन थे ये अमेरिकन ट्रेंड्स थे, तालिबान कौन था, अमेरिकन ट्रेंड्स थे। लेकिन जैसे ही तालिबान ने उन्होंने अपने ऑर्थोडॉक्सी स्टैंड को अपनाते हुए अफगानिस्तान पे शासन किया और अलकायदा जैसे टेररिस्ट आउटफिट्स को उन्होंने एंटरटेन करना शुरू कर दिया, और जैसे ही अमेरिका को इसका एक सेटबैक लगा 9/11 के रूप में ट्विन टावर अटैक हुआ, उस वक्त अमेरिका कंसर्न हुआ कि भाई जो एक नेक्सस डेवलप हो रहा है तालिबान और जो टेररिस्ट आउटफिट्स हैं, डिफरेंट टेररिस्ट आउटफिट्स, वर्ल्ड वाइड टेररिस्ट आउटफिट्स हैं, जो नेक्सस हो रहा है वो तालिबान को खत्म करने के बिना नहीं होगा। उन्होंने वॉर ऑन टेरर शुरू किया, उन्होंने अफगानिस्तान से तालिबान सरकार को हटाया और एक प्रोग्रेसिव सरकार लेके आए। अमेरिका लगभग 20 साल से पहले बीच में इराक के साथ लड़ रहा था, इराक के साथ 2003 में लड़ रहा था। उस वक्त अमेरिका को जब वहां बिजी था तो यहाँ वापस से तालिबान कंसोलिडेट कर पाया अपने आप को, अपने डिफरेंट पॉकेट्स में अपने आप को जमा पाया। लेकिन एक वो जो टाइम मिला, एक जो ऑक्सीजन मिला, उस वक्त तालिबान ने अपने आप को दोबारा से डिफरेंट पॉकेट्स में अफगानिस्तान के में अपने आप को जमा लिया, और जो टेररिस्ट आउटफिट्स, जो नेगोशिएशंस, जो टेररिस्ट के साथ एक नेक्सस था उसको कंटिन्यू रखा। क्या आप मुझे बताइए कि ओसामा बिन लादेन वाज इन अहोटाबाद वाज किल्ड बाय द अमेरिकन फोर्सेस, क्या वो पाकिस्तान को नहीं पता था कि ओसामा बिन लादेन कहाँ छुपा हुआ है? क्या तालिबान को नहीं पता हुआ था? कहते थे कि तालिबान विल डिसएसोसिएट फ्रॉम ओसामा बिन लादेन और विल डायरेक्ट ओसामा बिन लादेन टू गिव अप, बट it was reverse, it was a different, like Osama bin Laden was funding and controlling Taliban for number of years। तो जो एक नेक्सस था वो अमेरिका को कंसर्न कर रहा था, लेकिन जैसे जैसे देखा कि 20 साल हो चुके हैं और अमेरिका they are fighting there and there is no end, because ये कहते हैं कि अमेरिका जहाँ गया वहाँ पे कोई नेशन बिल्डिंग हुआ नहीं, वहाँ पे कोई पीस एस्टेब्लिशमेंट हुआ नहीं। तो अमेरिका ने अपने आप को, अपनी फोर्सेस को वहां से विड्रॉ करने का प्रयास किया। उसके लिए एक ही मात्र जो अमेरिका के पास जो रास्ता था कि कि आप तालिबान के साथ नेगोशिएट करें। जिस दिन तालिबान को नेगोशिएट करने का आप टेंडेंसी आप मोड में आ गए, इट मीन्स दैट यू हैव स्टार्टेड रिकॉग्नाइजिंग तालिबान एंड यू हैव स्टार्टेड कंसिडरिंग तालिबान एज ए फोर्स। तो हम आप ये देखिए कि जब से नेगोशिएशन शुरू हुआ है तैसे तैसे उसी हिसाब से तालिबान हैज स्टार्टेड टेकिंग ओवर डिफरेंट प्रोविंसेस एंड डिस्ट्रिक्ट्स ऑफ अफगानिस्तान, कि धीरे धीरे उनका दबदबा बढ़ता गया और तालिबान मजबूत होता चला गया। वहीं पे स्टेट जो अफगान स्टेट था वो वीक होता चला गया और एक वक्त ऐसा आया कि अफगान स्टेट को तालिबान के साथ नेगोशिएट करना शुरू किया। मुझे जो लगता है कि इसका एक बहुत बड़ा फैक्टर है, मैं आता हूं कि जो बाकी जो नेक्सस डेवलप हुआ उस वक्त तालिबान के साथ में, उसमें आप ईरान ले लीजिए, रशिया ले लीजिए और चाइना लीजिए और पाकिस्तान, ये चार जो स्टेट हैं, जो सराउंडिंग स्टेट्स हैं अफगानिस्तान के, उनका एक नेक्सस बना और नेक्सस में कहीं न कहीं अफगानिस्तान में जो तालिबान है, तालिबान को एक ऑक्सीजन देना शुरू किया और वहां अमेरिका पिछड़ता हुआ नजर आया कि इस नेक्सस में अगर आज आपने एंगेज नहीं किया तालिबान को और आपने तालिबान के साथ नेगोशिएट नहीं किया तो जो तालिबान कंट्रोल तो कर ही रहा है, साथ ही साथ जो ओनस है पूरा तालिबान के साथ में एक रेपो डेवलप करने का, जिस तरीके से तालिबान एक पाकिस्तान के प्रॉक्सी के रूप में काम कर रहा है, उसमें अमेरिका पिछड़ जाएगा और दीज कंट्रीज वुड डोमिनेट द डिस्कोर्स, जो अमेरिका पिछले 30-40 सोवियत इन्वेजन के समय से आज तक कोशिश कर रहा था। तो मुझे जो मेरा सबमिशन है, मेरा जो ओपिनियन है कि जहां कि अमेरिका का जो एक विड्रॉवल मोड था, एक विड्रॉवल जो टेंडेंसी, उससे अमेरिका जो तालिबान का मोरल तो बूस्ट हुआ, तालिबान तो अपने आप उनको एनकरेज मिला और जो बाकी फोर्सेस, जो अफगान स्टेट्स था, जो अफगान आर्मी थी, वो डिमोरलाइज हुई और वो विड्रॉवल मोड, अमेरिका के साथ साथ वो भी विड्रॉवल मोड में आ गए। जहां तक मुझे अंदेशा है कि हो सकता है कि अमेरिका had a negotiation with Taliban through Pakistan, because Pakistan was always a constant channel for Americans. बाकी तो अमेरिका के लिए ना ईरान चैनल बन सकता, ना चाइना चैनल बन सकता, ना रशिया चैनल बन सकता, कोई भी नहीं बन सकता। तो it was only Pakistan that was a channel एंड उसके थ्रू तालिबान को नेगोशिएट करने का कोशिश किया कि देखिए जो भी है, वी वांट टू एंश्योर कि हम पे कोई किसी तरीके का टेररिस्ट अटैक नहीं होगा, यू विल एंश्योर अमेरिकन सिक्योरिटी, यू विल एंश्योर अमेरिकन पीपल्स सिक्योरिटी एंड यू विल disassociate yourself from Al-Qaeda or an IS. And that was, I think that was the negotiations through Pakistan, that Americans, they had given a upper hand to the Talibanis to take over in Afghanistan, and that has come a setback to Hamid Ghani, Abdul Ghani government, and that he tried to escape himself. He had come out from Afghanistan, and it was told that Ghani is a coward man. He had come out, but I think that the entire game plan was that let's take Pakistan into confidence. Once you will take Pakistan into confidence, that Taliban would work as the proxy of Pakistan in that. So in totality, you can see that Pakistan again become very important, very significant country, and that has boosted the moral of the terrorist outfits, Islamic orthodox and conservative forces in the region. That India is fighting against these forces for a number of years, and the other progressive forces is also fighting. And within Pakistan also there is fightings, because you can see that how the Pakistan government had, Pakistan establishment, ISI had been training, supporting to Haqqani network over the years. So you can see that Pakistan, basically that Pakistan wanted to, had taken the lead in a way that taken the lead, and that lead had been Americans, or of course it was, I will come with the China and Russia. They have also been instrumental in uh, uh, in in Afghanistan. But you can see that this why Pakistan is doing so. First thing, you know that Pakistan, they believes in jihadism. They believe promoting terrorism, cross-border terrorism. They had been doing against India for a number of years. That the way Pakistan is sponsoring terrorist activities in India, and India is fighting and giving them giving them back what they deserve. But you can see. Since Pakistan, they know that you can't fight alone. Many years you can continue this this kind of supporting terrorist activities in India and in Kashmir. Now they wanted to use that. They wanted to use that once the Taliban would come and take over Afghanistan, they will try to divert this jihad. They will try to divert this. The Talibanis act in Kashmir, and that is the one of the prime objectives of the deep states, the ISI and the army in Pakistan. That they will try to divert the Talibanis. Now you have to fight jihad in Kashmir as well. But Pakistan states, and then you can say that Imran Khan, they are not aware that it would be damaging for Pakistan itself. That Pakistan, these Taliban will also stand against Pakistan, progressive forces, the women of Pakistan, or you can say that other who believe in progressive democratic institutions in Pakistan. This Taliban will also come as demon in Pakistan, and that would also lead to refugee crisis. The refugee flow, that all the refugees, because you have porous border through Durand line, that the Afghan refugees will cross to Pakistan, and that would create a crisis in Pakistan as well. How Pakistan would accommodate with Tehreek-e-Taliban, that's a big issue. Before that, how it will embody or it would tackle the Tehreek-e-Taliban that had been fighting against the Pakistan army or Pakistan establishments, and there are a number of attacks. That there were attack on the army public school in Quetta. You can see that how the Tehreek-e-Taliban, they have been doing these activities. They do not know that this would also boost the morale of the Tehreek-e-Taliban to do their activities in Pakistan. So my point is there that you are creating a demon. The Americans had created demon. You can see that how it has reacted in 9/11. The Pakistan is creating a demon, a Taliban, and that would definitely have an adverse repercussion for Pakistan as a state, and that would also, particularly the women of Pakistan, would also come, because this would increase, they would enhance the morale of the orthodox radical people in Pakistan, like Hafiz Saeed and all that people. And the other religious orthodox peoples, they will try to adopt the policies of what Taliban would do. The third point that in Pakistan, you can see that this would also increase the burden along the Durand line. That Pashtuns community, they have their Pashtun belts near Durand line. They will do their activities, and that would not go in good taste of Pakistan. You can also see, and if these kinds of activities of Pakistan would continue, that there is a challenge for Pakistan to come out from the action task force, financial action task force, that how they will come out from the grey list of this financial action task force. These are the things that Pakistan is not understanding. Americans are in a way, they are very clever. They still, they are still controlling the financial flow of Afghanistan. They have basically, you can say, they have stopped the financial flow through IMF and all that institutions, that all the reserves of Afghan government should be blocked, should not be. They are blocking these financial flow, so that Americans will always be in bargaining position with Afghanistan. That if you will not protect the American interest in the region and against terrorism, that we will not make it easy for you to have financial flow for to boost your economy. And it will not also recognize Taliban unless until they will not come out with the terms what the Americans wanted. So they kept it that Taliban had taken over in Afghanistan, but at the same time they will try to control and they will try to manage Afghanistan. Now, keeping these these scenarios, there are two more more significant actors. Iran, I would not go with Iran, because Iran wanted the Americans out from this region because of they are not going together for a number of years on issue of nuclear, issue of number of issues. But how Iran would go with Taliban, that is another question, because of the you can say that Hazara Shias in Afghan, how these Afghan would treat with the Hazara Shias, because they will also have conflict not only with minority communities like Hindus and Sikhs in Afghanistan, but they will also have conflict with Hazara communities and how Iran would take this would be a matter of concern, matter of that we will see that how Iran wanted that Americans should withdraw from this region as soon as possible. Russia, of course, also wanted that Americans' influence should be minimized from this region. That was the prime objective of the Russians, that they were negotiating, they were facilitating Doha rounds, they were negotiating with Taliban's number of years, because the Russians, they wanted to protect and secure Central Asian republics.
It's 12 o'clock.
Central Asian republics, and that should not be any security threat, that should not be any religious threat to America. Now, because it is already, I think, 45 minutes, let me come with the other two important actors in the region, that is China. What is Chinese interest? The China, of course, the first factor of China was that the Chinese, they wanted Americans out of this region, because the Americans were present in Afghanistan. The number of issues, the number of objectives that Chinese wanted in Afghanistan, through Afghanistan, they wanted to reach Central Asian republics, energy resources of Afghanistan. They are also eyeing on the natural resources of Afghanistan like copper, gold, and opium, and all that. They are also eyeing that how you can control the American Afghani's resources, as well as how you can make them increase their trade with Afghanistan. They also wanted to revive Wakhan corridor to China to Central Asian countries, and so keeping, and of course they also wanted that Afghans should join and should join BRI, though the Ghani government has also given a green signal to join BRI. But the concern was that, while they will dominate the discourse in Afghanistan and Pakistan, they will take these two countries into fold. Their BRI or their China-Pakistan economic corridor, or their investment, like around $62 billion investment in Gwadar port, would be secured. That this kind of assumptions that the Chinese are trying to make by managing Talibanis and Afghanistan in the region. And that Chinese, if they will have, because the Chinese they had come out that we expect that they should be there should be inclusive government. We expect them that they should be, that all other communities should be a part of this. They prefer that the inclusive and broadly representative government in Afghanistan they are expecting. And if they will meet this requirement, the Chinese have different criteria of inclusive government. Chinese has a different criteria of a broad representative governments, as they have you seen in Myanmar how they are doing, as you see in that Pakistan how they are doing. They will do in the same, and by giving excuse they will recognize Taliban, and once they will recognize Taliban, they will meet their financial requirements. They will become their bankers. They will trap them in their debt, like the Sri Lankans had been under that trap, and the Talibanis would also be under that trap. this is the calculations that the Chinese are coming. Of course, that Chinese also have one more very important, significant security concern. That is in Xinjiang province, that the Uyghur Muslim community, that they want to assure that the Uyghur Muslim community should not have any bases in Afghanistan. Number one. Number two, they should not support the East Turkmenistan Islamic movement. East Turkmenistan Islamic movement is basically, they talks about the Uyghur Muslims. So they want to ensure that whatever the Chinese are doing in Xinjiang province with the Uyghur community, that the Talibanis should not bother about, should not take concern about these things. So there should not be any moral boost up or logistic support to the separatist or Uyghur community, or particularly that the East Turkmenistan Islamic movement in Afghanistan. Let me come with the last point, because then I would open it. So Chinese, you know that the Chinese, they had gang up with Pakistan and Russia and Iran to evacuate the Americans, to withdraw Americans from the region. Number one, that Chinese, they also wanted to control and increase their influence in this region. They have been supporting and boosting Pakistan's and terrorist activities. You know how they are treating the terrorists in UN, how they are categorizing them. But my simple point is that how the Chinese increasing influence would influence the or would be good for India. What is India's my last submission is that what is India's policy objective? How India is looking Taliban at this point? Because India tried to be part of Afghanistan for a number of years, very actively. They tried to develop the inclusive forces in Afghanistan. Recently, the government has also come out, the Indian government has also come out that we want inclusive representative administration respecting right of all and denying a haven for terrorist groups. Primarily India-centric ones appear to be the framework for New Delhi's acceptance of Taliban government in Kabul. That kind of calculations are there, that India is expecting that the Taliban should not support the extremist and terrorist outfits, that is, they are doing the activities in Afghanistan. Basically, India has three policy objectives vis-a-vis Afghanistan. First is the security, the internal security, that the Talibanis, they should not promote the terrorist activities, how the way the Pakistanis had been using. If they will work as proxy of Pakistan, that Pakistan would use Talibanis to do their jihadist activities in Kashmir and other part of India. So first policy objective, that India would not entertain any kind of terrorist activities. If the Taliban are supporting, India would take a very strong resistance for that. Second thing, if the radicalizations take place, or you can say orthodox or conservative Islamic thinking takes place in Afghanistan, that would increase the fundamentalism. So India's concern is that we have to defy the fundamentalism and fundamentalist activities, not all over South Asia, including Afghanistan. That we want that this should be. Third, of course, that India also want to curb the separatist and insurgent movement and in India or in in Kashmir and all that the Talibans, they should not support these insurgent separatist movements that they are taking place. So it should not work as proxy of Pakistan. It should have independent states. India also concerns that if the extra regional powers like China and China will also promote and boost the morals of Talibanis against India for their geostrategic calculations or geoeconomic considerations, as they are pampering Pakistan for a number of years. India will not tolerate. India will have two policy objectives with vis-a-vis. I do find that there are, first, that we try to, as a soft power, we try to have a confidence building measures. We will try to engage. We will try to engage Afghanistan as it had been in the past. We had been trying to have people-to-people contact, cultural contact, academic contacts, and different business and trade contacts. And we want that that Indian investments should be protected well in Afghanistan. That is what that is one thing. If it is not, then we will have two strategies that we will try to deter by punishment. That we will try to, if there is any anti-state activities, anti-India activities, we will try to deter them by punishment. And second, we will try to tighten our border, like by denial strategy, that we will upgrade our ports and bases and border security forces and intelligence, and we will try to collaborate with the world community. This is the India's policy objectives that we are trying to take in this. So I think India is thinking that we will engage with all the stakeholders in the region, because India does not have any direct access to Afghanistan. It tried to engage to America. Now again, the international actors or agencies that India tried to have this kind of engagement with Taliban. So India's policy now, they are waiting, and they were waiting and they're watching that how Taliban acts and behaves. If they will think they will have a progressive institutional regimes, they will protect the interest of the women, they will protect will not compromise the ethos and values that India believes. And the Indians, they are based in Afghanistan. We are also looking evacuations of them. हम उनको निकालना चाह रहे हैं. We want to bring them is safer. And if the interest of the minority communities like Sikh and Hindus are protected in the Taliban regimes, India may establish a dialogue and can come with the negotiation table with Taliban. That these are my submissions. I do find if I have any questions, I would be very happy to answer. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. We all know that this is the whole issue of Afghanistan is very complex, and you have tried to uncover every layer of that complexity. Starting from the historical journey of Afghanistan, its geographical location, and the geostrategic and geoeconomic implications of Afghanistan's location. You also rightly pointed out that the Afghanistan, which is now in the hand of Taliban, now it's a functional state. And what are the issues and challenges even for Taliban? Because in the era of globalization, no country can survive without international cooperation and recognition. And for getting that international cooperation and recognition, some kind of compulsion of having an inclusive policy will be there on Taliban. But we have to see how that things move. You also very well discussed the issue of Islamization, how to understand this whole issue of Islamization in Afghanistan and also in other South Asian countries. In fact, I must say that you gave number of angles from which students may see this whole issue. So now I can see there are a number of questions in chat box. So I request Dr. Punita Pathak to present those questions before sir, so that they can respond to those questions. Chat box is flooded with the question, Punita. So just take the representative questions so that we can present this question before sir. And then I can see one or two hand raised. Lastly, we'll give them also a chance for oral question, but we'll take more and more questions through chat box so that many queries can be taken together. So over to you, Punita.
Okay, thank you, Dee. So there is a first question here in the chat box by Rashtra Vigyan Charcha Kendra. Question is, how far is Islam-based radical ideology responsible for the present scenario?
I think I have answered this in detail, that how the Islamic ideology, Orthodox and the conservative people has nexused and come together number of factors there. I have talked about ISI and the Pakistani state and the Saudi Arabia, UAE, and the other Orthodox Islamic people. That, and where is the conflict between Hanafi and Hanabali, and that is basically creating problems in this region. So I think I have answered this question very well in my lecture, if they were listening carefully.
Yes. Along with that, there is another question from Soni Singh, our student in MA final year. She asked some of the questions that are here. Like, first of all, that what can be the stand of UN, United Nations Organization, in the Afghanistan issue?
Let me. I'm also reading. See, I can see that UNO. See what you see, that who are representing, who are the permanent member in UN, and if there would have been consensus in the global powers like China, Russia, and USA, the situation would not have been that worse in in Afghanistan, and Taliban would not have been taken on. But there is a fragmentation, there is conflict within these powers, and if the issue would go to UN, I think that this would take nowhere. It would take nowhere. NATO and Americans, they tried to settle the issues, but they could not. They failed to have nation building process in Afghanistan. So my point is very simple. I have given the different stakeholders have different interest. Like China has a different interest in this region. They are eyeing with this region because of BRI, because of Uyghur, because of the trade and investment and connecting and energy, particularly energy issues with Central Asian countries. Russians had a different stake in this Taliban in Afghanistan. So, and Americans are looking this entire issue in differently. On the issue of terrorism, there is hardly any consensus in between the superpowers. The Chinese, they had been supporting. You know that how Massoud was supported in UN by China, and the way India and Americans were raising the voice. So my point is there that I think this issue, if it comes with the UN, it would not take nowhere. And UN is well aware about the developments, what it had been taken place in last 20 years. The second, I think the second question is, would Panjshir be able to counter Taliban rules? You know, I don't think so, because you know, earlier in 9/11, after 9/11 also, that the fight was from Panjshir, but that was supported by the international community at that time. But now, who are supporting the Panjshir people, or who are fighting against Talibanis? Nobody, no external power is supporting. So from where they will get the logistic support? From where they will get the armed support? So there is a big question that how much they will resist against Taliban in Panjshir. Maybe that region would be free, but how much they will be able to liberate Kabul from Talibanis is a big question. But I do not believe that it is going to be happen without the international support, and that I am not finding. If it would have been the case, Americans never withdrawn from the from Afghanistan. So third question: what kind of treatment will be given to Afghani refugees by the world community? Of course, you know, again, if you are entertaining and there is a problem that one is a humanitarian concern, that people are fleeing, they are coming out from Afghanistan, they want refuge, they want shelter in different parts, but it is also boosting the morals of the Talibanis, that you have surrendered, and you have whosoever the opposition forces in the Taliban in Afghanistan who had gone out of Taliban, and now the Talibani out of Afghanistan, and now Talibanis has free hand in Afghanistan, whatever the way they want to go. So I think there is a still dilemma in the world community regarding that, how you should treat these Afghan refugees. They should be. I think what international communities should look, that they should ensure that these Afghan people, they should stay in Afghanistan and their interests should be protected, and the Taliban should not have age and violate their human rights and women rights in Afghanistan. That would be the best way, rather than protecting and giving shelter to these people. How women rights will be protected in the country, as I have come out with these calculations number of times. You know, still the Talibanis, what I do find, there is lull before storm, that they are calm now. They are showing that we are so far, we are soft, and we have given amnesty to opposition forces, and the women rights and human rights would be protected. But you know how they are. They have started behaving, and you can't control. There are a number of factions within Talibanis. That part I could not include in my. There are, you know, Haqqani networks. They are radicals. They are extremist forces. That how they will come and they will agree with the other groups of Taliban. You can see there are the religious orthodox people like Akhundzada was a religious orthodox orthodox, and how they will allow these people. So you can see that the third Yaqub Menon, Yaqub was Mullah Yaqub was also you know, Maulana Omar son. So he's also not you know, he's leading the army, and how he will treat these things. These are the questions I think we should wait. We should look at how they are. But I'm sure that if there will be, because there are a lot of dependencies on international community. If the international community will not support these Talibanis to curtail the rights of the women and human rights, then I think their rights would be protected. If US has withdrawn and China would start becoming banker of the Talibanis, then there are remote hope of having gender rights protected and human rights protected. Yes. Then I come to, is there decline or surrender of UN? UNO is UN. It's not a surrender and decline of UN, but it is basically that who will bear the burden. If you remember, Trump, during Trump regime, they have asked India to share the burden of Afghanistan. They have asked, because they can't sustain. They have to bear the burden of defense expenditure and economic expenditure were taking place in Afghanistan. So from Pentagon, in his speech in 2017, Trump asked India that India should share the burden of Americans or the international community in Afghanistan. So and you can't enjoy that they should be curtailed. They should be fought against the terror alone. So this kind of issues are there where you know where the international community was not confident to continue their war against terror in Afghanistan. What will be the role of Amrullah Saleh and Panjshir Valley in overcoming the present situation of? I have told that they can sustain the fight for up to Panjshir. Beyond Panjshir, they will not be in position to go and win Kabul unless until they do not have any support from the external powers or international community to fight the Talibanis. Is there threat to India by the Taliban rule? And how Pakistan, China, Taliban will together take stand for India? Of course, I told that there is a threat. Of course, there is a threat, and there is imbalance. Regional imbalance has been created now in South Asia, and there the Chinese and the Pakistanis with the nexus of Talibanis would imbalance the India in the region. And you know, India had been fighting against terrorism, and India will continue its fight against terrorism. And India believes in the policy or ethos of democracy and human rights and women rights and equality and inclusive government. India will stand with that. But none of these states, including Pakistan and China, they believe in inclusive government. They believe in human rights and women rights. So my point is simple, that India, yes, it's not only threat to India, it's a threat to the progressive democratic values or liberal democratic values, and that is particularly from, you know, the China, how China has been behaving on human rights issues in Uyghur community, how Pakistan had been tolerant to the liberal progressive people in the country, the same manner that how if they will align with the Talibanis, I'm sure that would create a threat to the inclusive and tolerant society of this region. What should be the India's approach towards Taliban? We are looking. We want that Taliban should behave like a progressive democratic forces. That should be inclusive force. That should be progressive force. That Indian government has indicated that we will see that how the Talibanis will behave. If they will behave with the India believes in democratic ethos and values, and that if Talibanis behaves like that, there are possibilities of having opening a dialogue with Taliban as well. But if they will work as the proxy of Pakistan and under the influence of Pakistan, and that attacks on Indian interests, India has the tendency to answer them in the same language. So we will see how we can behave. We can wait. They are behaving, and we will wait. We will see, and we will wait for that. What should be the stance of India with respect to accepting refugees from Afghanistan? I think I have explained it the same manner. How much refugees you will accept, that matters. Matters that how many Afghan people, refugee people. If you will do that, then it would give a safe package to the Talibanis in Afghanistan. Recently, Russian President Vladimir Putin said that we do not want Afghan militant arriving under cover of refugee. Also, Russia will not allow Afghan refugees. Sir, what do you think India should take the same step as Russia? And should India remove the e-visa facilities for Afghan refugees? I think that this is under consideration, that Indian government is working on this issue very seriously. Of course, we have to be alert about what type of people who are coming. If they are confident people who are engaging, coming India, that we have to be vigilant enough for these things, that should not hamper, that should not create any problem for Indian state in near future. So we have to be very careful, as the Russians, their Russians' concern was also that there should be no security and religious threat to Central Asian Republic. तालिबान शासन में पाकिस्तान व्यवस्था पर क्या प्रभाव पड़ेगा? तालिबान शासन में पाकिस्तान अर्थव्यवस्था पर, अगर पाकिस्तान निश्चित रूप से कंटिन्यूअसली टेररिज्म को सपोर्ट करता है और सारा फंड उनका ISI और मिलिटेंट तालिबान को प्रोटेक्ट करने में, और IS और सेना उसी को प्रोटेक्ट करने में और टेररिस्ट एक्टिविटीज में लगाएगा, तो दे विल नेवर कम आउट फ्रॉम द फाइनेंशियल टास्क, that financial action task force grey list. So it would adversely impact. Of course, it would have, but now China had been financing to military programs and number of other programs to Pakistan. Now they will also open to Taliban. Of course, that there will be budget cut for Pakistan because the budget will also transfer to Taliban. So my point is, I'm not taking that how China will see if Taliban would work on the directions, as Pakistan had been working. Taliban behaves like a proxy state of Pakistan, and if China will also behave in the same manner, the Chinese are in good position they have a deep pockets to fund these activities and to protect their interests. संयुक्त राष्ट्र संघ के इस तरह के चुप रहना और कोई रिएक्शन नहीं देने से that's a League of Nations, and of course you can question it, but I'm sure that there is a number of questions of the UN. But my point is that I think there is need to reform in the UN, that the permanent membership of the UN should be increased, that should be more democratic, more inclusive, so that the other states who are suffering from these the great powers rivalry would be in better position to have a say, and that UN can work effectively for the future generations, for the inclusive and progressive values of the country. How this Afghanistan issue can be solved? What can be major remedy of that? That's a big question. The Americans could not understand how the Afghan problems can be. But my point is that my point is very good question. In fact, that we have to work on these issues, that how we can solve this problem of Taliban's, problem of radicalizations and all that. I think there should be there should be my simple submission is that there should be inclusive and widely representative governments, not only in Afghanistan but in Pakistan as well. If Pakistan would become a democracy, if Pakistan would come out from the army and the ISI's classes and from the deep state, and if Pakistan would be a progressive democratic institutional state, I think that would have positive impact on Afghanistan and Taliban as well. Because, you know, the Taliban movements, the Haqqani network had a constant support from Pakistan's deep states, ISI. And so my point is there in कि आपको चोर को नहीं, चोर की माँ को सुधारना चाहिए, उनको देखना चाहिए. Pakistan had been constantly supporting the terrorist activities or terrorist outfits or extremist and radical forces entire region. I think that they need to concentrate. The world community should understand Pakistan's deep states, that how they are behaving, and for that I'm also finding that Americans are also responsible somehow, that they had been continuing their military programs with Pakistan. They tried to modernize, they ignored the democratic forces, they have engaged themselves with the military regimes of Pakistan. So my point is there that if the Pakistan will be okay, will be progressive, democratic, then Afghanistan's task would be more easier. So there is need. पहले पाकिस्तान को सुधारना पड़ेगा. जब पाकिस्तान सुधर जाएगा तो अफगानिस्तान को सुधारने में या उसको ट्रैक पे लाने में ज़्यादा मुश्किल नहीं होगी. Sir, is there present situation the concern? What could be the outcome of Afghanistan government? Will Taliban succeed in the agenda? They are trying to succeed. They are trying to succeed in Talibanis. They are trying to. They have been successful now till that they have come to Kabul. Now, how they will move? If they will manage, they accommodate the other stakeholders in Afghanistan, they will sustain peacefully. If they will not accommodate, then there will be more violence, there will be more conflicts, there will be more opposition in Afghanistan, and that what Afghanistan had been from 1979 to 21, it would continue for another many years. So my point is there that the ball is in the court of Talibanis, how they behave. If they behaves properly what the Afghan people are expecting, then there would be possibility of peace and stability. If they do not behave properly as the people of Afghan is expecting, then there will be more violence, more conflict, more oppositions, more political instability in the region. Of course, India, one point I forgot to mention about that, India also want that a peaceful Afghanistan. India also want a progressive Afghanistan because of the economic interest of India. India is also aspiring to go to Central Asian countries. India has proposed Tapi gas pipeline. India has proposed Iran-Pakistan, India gas pipeline. So, you know, India wants to connect, have a physical access to the Central Asian countries. If you have a positive, constructive government in Afghanistan, definitely India would have a passage to go to Central Asian countries, and so that would also increase India's trade and investment interest in Afghanistan. India would be more in position to invest in Afghanistan if there is progressive forces. So it depends entirely on how Taliban behaves in near future. That depends on entire scenario. So recently I heard that the Taliban are so keen on participating in development of their country and be benefiting from the process. Personally, would not these same considerations have come to play in 1996? Did you not instead go about shifting their own people and antagonizing the whole world? No, of course they will. I said that they are promising by press conference, but they are not on ground. They are still not behaving properly. So I'm sure that I don't know how they will behave and how they will go and accommodate with the international community and will participate in development of their country. It is matter of that we have to see. It's too early to judge, to give opinion about this, that how the Pakistani Talibanis are going. What should be the India's foreign policy in this situation? India should try to engage the international community in Afghanistan, should revive the dialogue further, that had been doing in the past also. India tried to engage Afghanistan by different by engaging now, like Russia and Qatar can be a good source for India to negotiate with these situations, because they have been friend of India. If Pakistan's relations with if Afghanistan relations with Pakistan really is in good place, that's a big question. Is it the Pakistan's relations or ISI or Army's relation? You know, that's a very good, it's a tricky question in a way that I'm sure that Pakistan people's relation with the Taliban is not that good. I'm sure that the Democratic Progressive People's relations with Taliban is not that good, but I'm sure that Taliban has good relations with ISI and the army establishment. They had been constantly supporting to their movement. 1996 to 2000 अमेरिका का तालिबान के खिलाफ एक्शन और 20 वर्षों तक संरक्षण, फिर 2021 से यूं अपने सैनिकों को निकाल और वहां पर अपने आधुनिक हथियारों को छोड़ना, इसका क्या संकेत है? ठीक है, बात आपका ठीक है प्रिया तिवारी जी, दैट योर क्वेश्चन इज वेरी गुड, दैट ये तो वर्ल्ड पावर जो आर्म एक्सपोर्टर है उनका तो मकसद ही ये है कि उनका आर्म मार्केट बना रहे, वहाँ कॉन्फ्लिक्ट रहे तो आर्म्स खरीदेंगे और उनका ट्रेड, आर्म्स ट्रेड कंटिन्यू करेगा. दैट्स वन ऑफ द ऑब्जेक्टिव्स, दैट all they want to remain an arms seller and to the conflicting zone. If there will no conflict, there will no security threat, nobody will buy arms. So that is one of the objectives, that they wanted to sell the arms, that India is buying arms and all other countries are also buying arms because of the constant threats from different parts. So this is you can see, but of course you can say that the Americans withdrawal from Afghanistan in this situation is not a good health for South Asia. I think would not have been withdrawn in this manner. They would have continued. Some of the forces, they would have been continued for the peace and stability and protection of women and rights. I think that would have been better position in the region. Taliban, normal civilian, no military outfit. Pakistan PM Imran Khan. What are your view about statement given by him? Taliban, normal civilians, no military outfits. That I have told that Pakistan constantly that, you know, who is Imran Khan? I think you understand who is Imran Khan. Imran Khan is a proxy of the army. He's a man of army. He has come to power with the support of the army. It's not that. So you have to understand whatever he is speaking, that the deep state of Pakistan is speaking. Sir, I am facing this dilemma of whether India should take a strong leadership role in the situation and take a strong stand against the Taliban, since it has always emphasized on value of democracy and peace, and could also prove as an opportunity for India to show itself as a strong power in the world community. But then doing this may invite a huge setback from the Taliban-Pakistan-China axis, which we cannot afford at this moment, given the already fragile situation of your country. I think, Nancy, you have answered your question very well. You answered your question, that you raised the question and you answered. So if you are aware about the defense cost and the involving yourself in this situation would be costly affair for India, I think it would be better to engage the broader international community to curtail these forces. Please fill out the मेरा भी attendance मैम लगा लेना. Fill out the attendance sheet. I will do it. What is the Taliban takeover means for India? It means many things. It means many things for India. I said it means the security. It means economic development. It means political stability. If there is no security threats from terrorism, from fundamentalism, from insurgent movement, that is alarming for India. If India doesn't have opportunity to have trade with the Central Asian, Iran, all these countries, that also adversely impact for India. And if there is no political stability in Afghanistan, that leads to further flow of migration and minority and human rights violations. So it means number of things for India. It means many things. Why did us pull out from Afghanistan? Why did us pull out from. We are indirectly party. We were in the constructions of Afghanistan. We were involved in infrastructures. We had extended 3 billion development aid to Afghanistan. We have been investing in Afghanistan. So we haven't withdrawn ourselves. We are still there. What the capacity we were there? How are women rights in Afghanistan threatened right now? They are now. I think the reports are coming. They are not allowed to go to the offices and schools. The US actively tried to keep India apart from the international efforts to rebuild Afghanistan after 2001 under the influence of Pakistan. So India followed a distinct constructive policy vis-a-vis Afghanistan. India focus on grassroots level projects and human capital development for the rebuilding and reconstruction of Afghanistan state. How do you think the Taliban approach towards India will be impacted by this, keeping in mind that India never put military troops in Afghanistan? Of course, Pakistan always wanted India to be away from Afghanistan. That was their primary intention, and Americans did not have any other option to keep engaged Pakistan for this task. So there were dilemma before that, but India directly, indirectly had been involved in reconstruction or rebuilding of Afghanistan. That we have been, and we have been engaged with the progressive forces, the Afghan government. So whosoever will rule and they are progressive, we will continue our engagement with these countries. I think so. That should be the strategy of India. We can't engage with the radical and orthodox and conservative forces who violate the rights of the women and the people, and they are intolerant and spread terrorism and spread fundamentalism all over the country. We can't engage with that. Pinky, how is the present situation in Afghanistan going to impact on international order, considering the clear failure of US and their myopic vision in Afghanistan? I think that's a broader and very important question Pinky has raised. That should be the considerations. Why I do find, if you remember, I indicated, Pinky, that while they were the nexus was emerging between Russia, China, Iran, and Pakistan, I think Americans, they have assessed this situation and they try to engage Pakistan. So if you can engage Pakistan, you can engage Taliban. In the recent developments, that the Americans' interest should be protected, we will withdraw and let the Taliban take over. I think that is one kind of arrangements the Americans had with Pakistan and Taliban, and now Taliban's had taken over. I think now, so Americans, they did not want it themselves withdraw completely, particularly to disturb, to imbalance the international order in South Asia. So they are there. They are negotiating with the different stakeholders in Pakistan and in Afghanistan. And I think that is the calculations, understanding of Americans, that it should not upset, that should not go in favor of China and Russia in this region, that they take over the entire game. So it's a geostrategic calculations of Americans, that they will try to engage Taliban through Afghanistan and will try to maintain progressive and inclusive government in Afghanistan. I guess so. Thank you very much for getting. Okay. India gets attacked by Talibanese women. If India gets Talibani, whom do you think will come up to help India? And Narendra Modi did lots of due to maintain good relations with other countries. I think India is in good capacity, good position to tackle if there is any. And it had been, we have deterred the problem by punishment. We had surgical strikes. We had been successfully doing so. So don't question, don't raise any question on the leadership. I think India would have been doing very well to tackle the terrorism and terrorist activities in the past had been promoted by Pakistan. We will also tackle the same manner against Afghanistan as well. Thank you. I think one hand, the US is taking countering measures against aggressive China, and on the other hand, it has itself left the fertile ground of Chinese to have an upper hand in South Asia. What impact would have? I think it's too early to judge. I'm sure that US has not completely withdrawn from it. Would I try to that they will do their they will continue their presence to Pakistan, and will engage Taliban in the region, and China would not completely take over this region. I still guess it. Is it too early to assume that what withdrawal of? No, it's not that. I think US hegemony has not been ended. So I think that those are the questions. I have tackled it. I can stop it now.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir. You have so patiently answered all the questions and queries asked by our students. I'm sure that all the questions and asked by the question, it has been clear now. Thank you, Professor Sanjay Bharadwaj, sir, for an enlightening lecture on the current issues and challenges of Afghanistan. Sir, the content was very informative, analytical, and the lecture was very crisp and clear. I'm sure that our participants have thoroughly understood about the topic. So you have wonderfully covered each and every aspect of this today's topic. Now I would like to invite Dr. Manisha Mishra to confer the formal vote of thanks. Dr. Manisha.
Thank you, Punita ma'am. After listening such an informative and comprehensive and analytical talk, I'm speechless. So you have discussed in such a positive manner. It is very important to understand it, how we are facing this situation. So on behalf of Department of Political Science, Vasanta College for Women, Rajghat, I, Dr. Manisha Mishra, Assistant Professor, Department of Political Science, Vasanta College, is present before you to deliver a formal vote of thanks. You have expressed in a very positive manner how we have to deal with it, how we have to tackle with the situation, and with a multi-dimensional framework you have discussed the present crisis. And I express my sincere thanks and gratitude to Professor Sanjay Bharadwaj sir, because you have categorically distributed your paper, and first of all you have discussed how the Afghanistan is going to tackle with this global crisis, the pandemic is going on, and thereafter this internal crisis. Then in the second part, you have discussed about what will be the ideological orientation of Taliban's. And the third part, you have discussed that how this situation in Afghanistan will going to have an effect on the whole region, not only in the whole South Asian region, but also at the global level. And in this context, starting from the geographical location of Afghanistan and how it has a strategical importance, to how Taliban are getting the condition of condition there, because in 1996 the situation was something else, and in after 20 years they have a very functional state and economy. And you have posed some important questions that how what about the condition will be there if there will be a Taliban regime established, then whether they will get the international recognition or not. You have beautifully discussed that how should be the approach of most of the states regarding it, starting from the critical analysis of the Hanafi school to how they are being post challenge, and then Hanafi school, and how this micro level analysis of these migrant unskilled semi-skilled workers, what will be their situation, and how Pakistan is going to play a crucial role there, and how Ghani government has faced the crisis, and thereafter what will be the position, what will be the stand and approaches of the various important major powers in that particular region, starting from America, how they have initially created the demon, and they have faced 9/11, and now Pakistan has created, and what will be the condition, and how USA is still controlling the financial flow in Afghanistan, and how Iran wants that their USS must not intervene, the China's strategy, and finally what will be the India's policy objective there, and what India is expecting from the global partners, and also what should be India's strategy to deal there, especially regarding the internal security and the radicalization which was taking place there, and how India will try to curb the insurgents and separatist movement. They may be start with the help of Taliban's in Kashmir, and how India is trying to make the global community aware that yes, they should engage in a positive manner there, so that international community should intervene, and Russia and Qatar could be a good source for India to engage there in a positive manner. So I express my sincere gratitude to Professor Sanjay sir for such an comprehensive discussion, and you have definitely give our students a critical perspective and various angles to look at this present crisis. Then I express my heartfelt thanks to our department in charge and head, Dr. Preeti Singh Madam, Associate Professor, Department of Political Science, for taking this initiative and planning such a relevant talk timely. I express my sincere thanks to Dr. Punita Pathak Madam for conducting this special lecture in a very systematic and lucid manner. I am also thankful to all the other colleagues from Vasanta College for Women, those who have joined us, and other teachers from other colleges and universities and institutions, those who have joined us. And I am thankful to our technical staff, Mehtab ji, for this technical assistance. And I am finally thankful to all our students for their patiently hearing and making it a very interactive session by posting logical questions and making this session a truly and fully meaningful for all of us. Thank you. Over to you.
Thank you, Manisha. Before ending the session, I once again want to thank you, sir.
I also thank you, Madam Preeti Singh and Madam Punita Pathak and Dr. Manisha for summarizing and conducting this. I congratulate you that you have arranged so wonderfully. Good, and I'm happy to have engagement with your college as well.
Sir, but it's also a request that we are hoping that same kind of academic support will get in future also, because listening to you once actually and the kind of questions raised by students, the chat box was flooded with the question. It itself proves that you could reach to them. So we would like to have you again and again, sir, on such.
Absolutely, I'm very impressed about the questions raised by. It's not looking like the students from graduation and masters are raising this question. These are all scholarly questions as raised by have been raised by your college students. So I'm really impressed.
So I thank all the students also, and I also want to thank Principal Madam. She could not join us because of this meeting, but all the time we get all kind of support from Principal Madam for organizing this kind of academic event. So it is only because of her support, her guidance, that we can organize this kind of program. So once again, I want to thank one and all, and with the hope that we'll meet soon again for some other academic interaction or academic talk. So thank you so much, sir. Thank you very much, sir. So now I think we can close, Punita.
Yes, please. Yes,
thank you, sir.
Thank you, Dee.
Thank you, Punita. Thank you, Manisha. Thanks to all the students, and we want the same kind of participation from you in future also.
Yes, definitely. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am and sir.
Thank you, ma'am.